Welcome to Digging for Kryptonite, a Supergirl fan journey. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss the full trailer for the 2026 Supergirl film is our pal from All Yeah Comics Skokie, returning guest, sweet Bernie Gersmeyer. Welcome back.
Howdy, Anthony. It's good to talk to you, man. Thanks for having me again. Dude, this is so fun that we have more and more DC trailers coming out. It's just awesome.
It's an exciting time for sure. Now, when the initial teaser trailer came out a few months ago, our mutual friend DeVoe joined me. We had a great chat about that. But now we have the full trailer, and this is the first time you and I are talking about it and sharing our thoughts, impressions, expectations of this upcoming film. I'll say right now, for anyone listening, if you have not yet watched the trailer, hit pause on this episode and go watch
3 minutes.
I got to tell you, this really threw me off schedule-wise because I was assuming, incorrectly, as it turned out, but I was assuming this was going to generally follow the marketing rollout of the Superman movie. So I was expecting the full trailer mid-May. That's where it was on my spreadsheet. And then all of a sudden yesterday, James Gunn posts the video, the promo for the full trailer. And I was like, uh-oh, we got to scramble. We got to mobilize. And I reached out to you, and I'm glad we're here.
Now, am I crazy, or I feel like this happened with the Superman trailer too? Like, I feel like it came out, they dropped it earlier, and then it was like, whoa, we got to talk. Yeah, but.
Yes, this is not the first time that
James Gunn has gotten us both times. But it's worth it. I'm excited.
Yeah, so a lot to talk about. I guess before we get into the trailer full throttle here, let me ask you the preliminary question. We know, of course, this is an adaptation of the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow miniseries, which we recently covered in depth on the podcast here. So let me ask you, I mean, how do you feel about Woman of Tomorrow generally, and the fact that it's serving as the inspiration for this film?
Well, yeah, it was really interesting because I've read it. I actually just recently gave it to my youngest daughter who's at college, and she's now reading it, getting ready for the movie. And I listened to, I think it was Kara on Kara. But it was a great episode because it really did talk about that. Like, we know it's an adaptation, but there seems to be this undercurrent worry as far as, will it be a good, true adaptation? I will tell you, watching this trailer, I'm feeling better and better about it being a good adaptation. And we're going to get into that why.
Yeah, and there were definitely a few things I clocked that registered to me as departures from the source material. Plenty of things that looked like they came right from the book, but also a number of instances where I said, oh, okay, they're pivoting a little bit here. Rightfully so in most instances, which we'll talk about. But it's funny. I don't have a ton more to say about Woman of Tomorrow since we just did our episode, and I encourage people to listen. But it's just it's so funny. We got a wonderful reaction to the episode, and people really seemed to enjoy hearing Kara, a new guest on the show, which was awesome. And I heard from a lot of people who are fans of the comic book work, but I also heard from some folks who are not. And it's so funny to me because, and the audience knows, I've said this so many times, I'm far from the biggest Tom King fan in the world.
Yeah.
And yet I find myself with Woman of Tomorrow in the position of being somewhat of a Tom King defender in talking about this. It's a weird position to be in for me personally.
Well, and here's the thing though, and I think you've said this, and I've definitely said this, that I feel like I've been burned a lot on Tom King books. But the two that I don't feel that way about is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and Superman up in the sky. Like, for whatever reason, I just feel that he set the tone right in those two books, especially Up and Away. Up in the sky? Yeah, Up in the sky.
Up in the sky.
Up in the sky. I'm going to say up.
It's okay.
But yeah, man, like I find myself defending that too, because I've always had a hard time with some of the other books. But yeah, I'm happy there were some departures made as far as the visuals. I really do like the art in Woman of Tomorrow, but I didn't really see how that was going to translate well to film, especially with, the style of DC Studios right now. I didn't think they'd really go that full art movie on us, which I would love in an animated form maybe. But yeah, I'm excited to hear what you think are departures, because I have some thoughts too.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I'll say kind of on the the note or the question of using Woman of Tomorrow as the basis, because I guess I'm going to somewhat argue against what I've said in the past, or at least answer a question that I've posed in the past, because I think much earlier on, I vocalized something to this effect of, hey, it's somewhat curious to me. Typically when we get these superhero movies, they're not adaptations of a single work. They take inspiration here and there, but they're not typically adaptations. But here we have one, to the point where this was originally called Woman of Tomorrow. They dropped that. Yeah. But I was saying to myself, it's somewhat curious to pick a work that represents so much of a departure from other Supergirl stories. Like, if you're going to pick one work to adapt, why this specifically? Other than, of course, it was popular and sold well and all that. But here's the thing, and I don't think this will come as a shock for those who listen to our episode. I truly do not feel that Woman of Tomorrow is much of a departure when it comes to the character of Kara Zor-El. And I know there are some who disagree, but as I get deeper into the Supergirl fan journey, revisiting stories and filling in gaps in my Supergirl fandom, I truly don't think that this is the departure that sometimes it is painted as. And like I've said, I feel like instances of her getting drunk on a red sun planet, I think sometimes maybe people really hone in on that, but that's certainly not who she is throughout the story. And I do know that there are some choices she makes in the book in terms of things she allows to happen that I think people bump up against. But I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make a similar argument that I made with the Snyder movies. We were just talking off mic about how rarely I bring them up. But what I've always said, and you can check the tapes, but what I've always said is that I truly feel the Clark in those movies, to me, captures the core of the character. What is different in those movies is the world in which that character is situated. Similarly, I feel like with Woman of Tomorrow, yes, she allows a stoning of one of these space pirates who participated in a genocide on this planet. But she allows certain things to have happen that might not feel like a Supergirl thing to do. In context, though, she has spent months literally following a trail of genocide across the stars. So I think the perspective there is informed by that. So all to say that I just don't really feel like it represents as much of a departure for the character as is often painted. And we have seen other stories. I just had Sterling Gates on the show this week. Hopefully people have heard it. And, he talked there too about the trauma of Kara Zor-El that they mined in that story. So what King does here, even if he emphasizes it a bit more, leans in a bit more, I still don't feel like it's such a radical interpretation of the character.
And man, okay, there's a lot. I agree with you actually wholeheartedly. I think that Supergirl over the years, and as you're talking about over your series too, I think Supergirl, even though we never want to admit it, has always been a side character to Superman. And, yes, she had her own movie in the 80s. Well, I won't really touch on that much. And she's had multiple different comic book series. And of course, 6 seasons of a television show. But I don't really feel that she's ever gotten the right deep dive like Sterling's books did. But I don't think Woman of Tomorrow is a departure, because it's like taking a side character and actually like peeling away the layers of what and who this character really is. And nobody's just really seen it until Woman of Tomorrow. And that's why I think it's the best of what Tom King does, of when Tom King's doing it well, especially with this character. And after this trailer, the first teaser we got way back, I was worried. I was like, okay, I think that I'm worried they're going to lean into the punk, drunk Supergirl. But I noticed in this trailer, we saw a lot of tone shift. We saw a lot of heart, a lot of lessons, a lot of moral happening. And like, she is the super in Supergirl, but we're seeing a lot of, like, basically, for lack of a better phrase, she goes through some shit. Like, and we're now learning about it. And Superman hasn't had to, and she has.
So yeah, I mean, I was keen on this from that initial teaser trailer, and I was really pleased with what I saw today in the full trailer. As always, you're not going to hear me on here saying we're so back, we're feasting, let him cook. None of that business here. We're trying not to be prone to hyperbole, but I remain enthused about this approach that they've taken. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I have a good sense of what this movie is going to be, and I feel like I'm well situated to enjoy it. It's one of those things. Obviously, we talk so much about the James Gunn Superman movie, and I can't stress enough how, for me, having the right mindset going in, having very, very reasonable expectations of what it was going to be, really set me up for success. And I was able to have a wonderful experience with that. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but hopefully we'll have a similar type of experience here too.
I am also really happy. Like, I didn't know if they were going to actually follow the crypto storyline inside the book. I didn't know how they're going to do that, but the trailer made it very clear that this is the reason for the story. Like, that they are going, it's not just the revenge plot for Ruthie, but it's, I have to save basically my family. Crypto is her family, and more so than Clark.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of on that note, so we start here with this video message from Clark checking in on Kara,
which is so sweet.
Yes. A couple of things
about it.
Clark. Classic Clark. It felt so true to his character. I mean, it felt exactly like the guy who was apologetic for being such a quote unquote jerk to Mr. Terrific in that post-credit scene. But the fact that he would check in on her, it felt very true to character. Also, talk about departures from the source material. That's not present in the book. And that was a very welcome addition here. It's like, even if she's not ready to receive the hand that he's offering, the fact that he's offering it, I think is very important. Also, personally, I'm happy we saw David Cornsweet in this trailer, because otherwise then we get into all of this business. Is he in it? Is he not? And you know what? I don't need to do that. I'm happy to just know he's there, and maybe we'll see him more, maybe we won't, but we know he's represented in the movie. And I'm sure there will still be other surprises and whatnot, but I'm glad that that's not a question hanging over this. I'm appreciative.
I think they're doing a really good job of making it very clear of not just a chronology of the movies, but that these are in this shared connected universe. Like, it's very clear. If you want to be a Marvel fan and go watch those movies in order, you know exactly how to do that and when to do that. And now we're seeing that. I'm sure there's going to be something at the end of this Supergirl movie that is going to link to Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now, to your point about crypto, yes, they are adhering to the source material. I guess let me issue a bit of a spoiler warning.
Yeah.
That we will be referencing plot points from Woman of Tomorrow. I mean, I will endeavor as much as possible to not go too hard on that front, but I guess just be warned. That's not the best warning, because I will try to be careful, but there will be stuff that comes up, because I do want to make these comparisons, because these were some of the things I was thinking about as I was watching. So it reflects the source material in that crypto is shot and poisoned.
Yes.
A couple of things that are different here. One is that there's far more of a ticking clock this time.
Yes.
3 days. As opposed to the months-long journey in the
book.
He's
just having a hard time. We're not sure if he's going to die or not, but this is very, literally shows a clock.
Yes. Also, to the movie's, I have to say, in virtually every instance, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head where I feel like it's a misstep in a change that they've made. I think all of the instances where there's a departure, I view it as a positive. I feel like even just from this trailer, I think the movie's doing a better job of really highlighting the importance of crypto to Kara. I don't feel like that was all that much of a theme in the book necessarily, but here, just in this trailer, I mean, there are multiple instances of crypto's her family, and it's the two of them. So I appreciated that.
Well, and making that link to her childhood. And not just it's literally her dog.
Yes.
And that's change that is a departure from what people think from the Superman mythos too. And I honestly like it.
Yeah, I like it. Yes, I like it too. And I think it adds another dimension to Kara's character. And here's the thing. Unless they were going to give us flashbacks in one of these movies of young Clark finding
Yeah.
crypto. In that case, okay, that's a little something different because now we're going down a different path. But if we're not going to do that, I think this adds a lot more here. But yeah, really highlighting the importance of crypto to her. Now, I guess a little bit of spoiler territory for the book,
Yeah.
right? You find out there that even though she tells Ruthie, by the way, we did our episode, I kept referring to her as Ruth. I was calling her Ruth for short. I had one of our audience members who said, "Oh, I didn't think you know, I think he thought I thought it was a silent Y-E." No. I know it's Ruthie, but I was just calling her Ruth for short. And even Kara calls her that at least once or twice in the book. But yes, Ruth or Ruthie. But in the comic, Kara says like, "Okay, I need your help to find Krem, to find the antidote for the poison." But then you find out at the end that wasn't necessarily the case, and crypto actually was not in jeopardy in that way the whole time, but rather Kara was trying to impart this higher lesson about the futility of revenge.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think they're going to take that track in the movie, or do you think, no, crypto is full on poison and they have to get the antidote by the end of the movie?
I think there's a ticking time clock. I think that helps the story because they don't have 10 issues. 12, maybe 12?
8. It might have felt like 12 with all that goddamn narration.
Oh, there's a lot of narration. Yeah. Okay. So 8. But I mean, they're going to do a lot. I don't know what the runtime's going to be. I don't think they haven't released it yet. So
I don't think this is going to be a 2.5 hour extravaganza. No. I think they were conservative with that Superman runtime. That clocked in at just over 2 hours. I feel like this is going to be even less than that. I feel like this is going to be maybe hour 40, hour 50, maybe 2.
I don't know. I would say maybe 2, only because we have also the Krypton factor of it all.
Yes, I want to talk more about that. But I'm kind of with you. I do feel like crypto will be in true jeopardy in this, which...
Because then the movie has a clock.
Yes. And I also... And it's tough. We don't like to see animals in jeopardy. Like I watched the trailer with my wife and I could tell she was like, oh, and I started explaining the plot of the book and I was like, so we might not, I don't know which way they're going to go. But here's the thing. I mean, hopefully we won't have to see much of, or any of his actual suffering, because I think that would be tough to take. We love crypto. But the other thing is, I don't think having to save crypto and imparting a lesson about revenge, I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I think it can be that there's a ticking clock. We need the antidote, but also, hey, this path that you're on is not the way. And I'm going to try to show you this.
Well, and the parallel is important between like, he did this to my dog. He did this to your family. Like my dog is my family. Like, please understand, I feel the same way, but they do show it. If you go back, I mean, there is an arrow in crypto. Like they're not holding back from it. Listen, you're talking to the dad of 2 daughters who've grown up with dogs. Like if I guarantee you, my daughters are gonna struggle with this, even as adults.
No, I know. I think that's going to be a bit of a tough pill to swallow. But to your point about the parallels between the characters, another thing that I noticed was that when Ruthie is talking about Krem, she says, Krem murdered my innocent family.
Yes.
So it seems like in the movie, it's not just the dad murdered
it's everybody
out in the hills, in the field, but rather here it's her entire family. And she's present in the room as the house is burning down.
It raises the stakes.
It raises the stakes and it makes it more immediate and visceral for her. And it's also one of those things, the way it plays in the book where the brothers are all bent on revenge, but they also know that ultimately they can't do anything. And the mother is fine with her just going off. I don't know how compelling that was. That was a little bit of an odd beat. So I think this is I think this change makes sense.
Well, and I also think, again, it does. Okay. Ruthie is alone. If Crypto dies, Supergirl, although she has Clark, will feel alone. Like that's just how she is right now. And it is interesting. There's a lot of cool, because it sounds like, or it looks like she's like early 20s.
Who, Ruthie? Ruthie or Kara?
No, Kara. I think she's probably 23 maybe.
I think they said 20. I think in the teaser trailer, she said like, here's to 23 or something like that.
Yeah. So like, I mean, literally my oldest daughter is that age. So it's just so interesting too, just the state of the bedroom. Like, it's just so on point with that age of who she is and where they're going through. It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, kind of, and on the note of her age, I over the next couple of weeks, people are going to hear episodes on Supergirl in the Silver
Oh,
and then Bronze Age of comics, and
yeah.
one of the things that stood out to me in making my way through a lot of those stories is that unlike so many other comic book characters, Supergirl was allowed to age up.
Yeah.
She's 15 when she arrives in her Action Comics debut, and as we
Right.
get deeper into the Silver Age alone, she graduates high school and starts college.
Yeah.
And so the fact that now we carry that forward and she's in her early 20s, it's not something you often see with comic book characters, but I'm happy to see it. And even just her being a little bit older here, I think is, if we're looking at the character in a really large, grand sense, it's like, yeah, her aging up is part of this character. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm, and we'll go through more of the trailer, obviously, but I'm very hopeful because I think they're actually doing some things. I think they're remedying some of the things that we had issues with the book.
Yeah. Like what? Okay. I have one thing,
Well,
but you go first.
well, okay. I do like that they've made Krem look more alien.
Sure. Yeah.
I like that side of things where the Krem and the brigands, they don't look so humanoid. There's a clear, like, they're alien pirates. I I also do like, I personally do like the ticking clock. I think the high stakes of, we have 3 days. Like, that means there's an urgency to it, and it's not just about teaching the lesson. It's, I have to teach this lesson while also making sure I save my family.
Bro, you're talking to someone who was all about 24 during
Yep.
my high school and college
Oh, bro.
years.
Bro, like, that's how we got through our early baby stage with our daughters. We would go to Blockbuster Video. If you don't know what that is, friends, feel free to look that up. But when they would put 3 episodes on a DVD, and I'd have to keep going back and forth to the store to get 3 more episodes of 24.
One of my most treasured TV memories was watching the first season of 24 on DVD and binging it because I missed the boat when it originally aired.
Oh, dude,
I made
the
all
end of
the
that first
silly,
season.
typical jokes about it that you would expect. And then
Oh,
I
yeah.
heard about how amazing it was. And this
Oh,
was
yeah.
still like, I know I feel so old. And I know we do have some young audience members. But like,
Yeah.
this was when TV seasons on DVD was a new thing. And
New
I remember
thing.
getting that and just blowing through those discs. And it was so much fun.
And it was also expensive to buy one season.
Yeah.
Like, it was like $60 or $70 to buy a season on DVD.
Yeah. All my comic
like,
shop money went right.
Yep.
went
Bro,
right.
like, they were like, we had babies. We didn't have that money. Like, that was Blockbuster all day. So
Yeah.
the end of that first season still blew me away.
Yeah. But to your point, yes, that urgency, that ticking
Yeah.
clock, I think that, I think that will elevate things. Also, and this ties in with a question that I have.
Okay.
You look at the book, we talked about this. They're in space for months. Now, obviously, that does raise some questions. Is Kara neglecting her responsibilities on Earth? Is anybody coming to look for this poor girl? Right. So we avoid that with a more constrained timeline here. The other thing, too, is in the books, it's months and months of tracking these genocidal space pirates, which is so dark and so heavy. And yes, I do think helps account for some of Kara's choices in the book. But at the same time, is that something that we would necessarily want to see in a film like this?
Now, if it was an 8-episode HBO Max series, 100%. I want to see the episode of the blue versus purple people. Like, that's a social commentary that would be important. But I don't think we're going to get that. I would be very curious to see, even if we got a glimpse of that. I don't think there's enough time to do that. I think that the 8-issue series is a really good job of spreading that out into that time, because it's not just Supergirl's arc, it's Ruthie's arc. And it's learning over that time together, and they both grow. We got 2 hours, dude. I think they're trying to tell a story. I'm very curious and I'm very happy. It seems like Lobo will be a fixture, but not an annoyance. I don't think he's in the movie very much.
I agree. By the way, because I know the audience is wondering, I
Yeah.
did ask DeVoe if he was
Oh yeah.
pleased, and he was. DeVoe is pleased with what we've seen of Jason Momoa
I would
as
think
Lobo.
so. Yeah.
This was on the Lobo note, right? This was something else we talked about. Interesting behind the scenes of how the Woman of Tomorrow comic came to be, where Tom King was initially thinking Supergirl and Lobo, and then was steered into this Ruthie and Supergirl. So it completely shifted the role that Supergirl was going to serve, as opposed to the more earnest seeker of revenge / justice to this reluctant, hard partying hero sort of character. And it's one of those things, I know maybe for some fans that invalidates the comic, like that wasn't his original intention and he just kind of plugged Supergirl into this role. Fine. And if that's an insurmountable roadblock for somebody, okay, like that's your call. For me though, I don't, that's not a fatal flaw of the book. I think once he was in that mode, I think the story worked. But yeah, clearly there was always an appetite for Lobo to be part of this story. And yeah, I mean, I think the story is definitely built for a role for him. I agree with you. I don't think I feel like we're going to be surprised at how little he's ultimately in it.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to be a ton of him.
I think Lobo is almost kind of interchangeable with like a friendly, like in the bar, somebody that just sees this girl needs help. Like you could interchange that character with anything, but the Lobo and the Momoa of it all adds so much. And again, dude, like the charm of that character, love him or hate him, like it's going to add something. I do see him also. I think he's going to be in like 12 minutes of the movie tops. And then at the end, not save the day, but maybe lend a helping hand.
Okay. Well, so two things. One, I love that last bit where he's like, oh, it's the Ditz from the dive bar. And she's beating the crap out of these other guys. And she's like, funny. That's how I've been referring to you.
Dude.
Fantastic.
That's great writing.
That's perfect.
Again, it's perfect. And it's not like, oh, I'm the big man beating up the girl. No, dude. She's going to beat the crap out of you.
And when she says that and he's like, oh yeah, fair enough. Like, that's great.
Fair enough. Touche.
Okay. But so here's the other thing to the point that you raised about what role Lobo will serve. One of the other things Kara and I questioned was, is there going to be a spot for Comet the Superhorse in this?
Oh, dude, I'd die.
Wild take / theory on my part. I could be totally wrong and I'll be happy to eat my words. But I suspect Lobo is going to essentially serve the Comet function in terms of lending that helping hand, providing that last minute, not save, because Kara can save herself, but that last minute bit of assistance to help her turn the tide, like Comet did.
Stop something. Like he's going to stop something from happening, not save it all, but just like give her a window for something.
Yeah,
as long as the Lobo doesn't turn into a horse, we're good.
Right, but in the comic, I mean, Comet takes a bullet or an arrow or whatever. And I could see Lobo, providing that last minute, unexpected assistance. I mean, it's funny if they really lean into Lobo in lieu of Comet. It actually would be. I don't know how much sense this would make, but it would actually be kind of amusing if you have Lobo on the beach with Ruthie, trying to make sure she doesn't kill Krem, who's tied up. But if it's Lobo, who knows? He might be like, why don't you just kill him?
Go for it.
So I don't know if that would totally track.
Or maybe we're going to find out that Lobo does try, like he does try to not save the day, but do something, and ultimately she saves him.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting? You know, one of my friends from college, his job, and I think it still is, he lives in Brentwood in California, and his job is to make trailers. It is fascinating to me how you can watch the progression of trailers and how like one additional line will change the tone of, you're like, oh, well, maybe that's not where that's going to go. That's going to go this way. Even just how she's approaching beating up people and how Supergirl is like taking out things. It's different. There was a tone switch in this trailer that made it that she's just not a loose cannon. There's more. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really, again, I'm setting my bar mid. Like I'm not going in high, I'm not going in low. I'm like, I've seen enough to go. This is going to be a good movie. I'm hesitant to say great.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the comic, the art obviously contributes significantly to this, as well as the narration, the imagery of Supergirl with the sword. You know, it really has this more fantasy based swashbuckling air to it, which
Yeah,
I'm not actually feeling from the trailers. And I don't say that as a negative. It has more of this, yeah, more gritty sci-fi outer space feel than more of that mythical
yeah.
swashbuckling, which again, I don't think is a bad thing. How do you feel?
I mean, I do like that. Like they've kept the sword, and now Krem's got an axe. And there's that side of thing, and like there's the armor's a little bit grittier, and it's like space pirates, but a little more modern and gritty. It was a little too. It was a little too swashbuckly in the book. But again, I think it just matched. They almost matched the art, like the style of the art. That made sense. The way the bar is, the way the space is, the way the ships is, it all vibes with a little more modern space telling.
Do you think we're going to get any narration in the movie from Ruthie? I certainly, I don't expect that it would be narrated throughout. I would be
Mm.
floored. But do you think maybe at the beginning and the end we got narration?
I, no, because I think if we were, I think we would have heard her voice that way in the trailer.
Ah, fair. Yeah.
Like I think that would have been if they were using that would have been a voice that you would have heard in that way. Again, I could be totally wrong, but I didn't get that sense. I felt like we were being told things by Ruthie, not in narration.
Yeah, I tend to agree. All right, I agree with you. I don't know that the episode with the blues and the purples, I would be surprised if that popped up here.
I love it.
Do you
I love that
think
epic.
Yeah, do you think they're going to pull back on the genocide?
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna dig deep into the crime of the pirates themselves and the danger of them, but not on the genocide of it all. I think that would be. I think from an entertainment movie side of things, they're not going to pull that trigger.
Yeah. I think that would just at a certain point become kind of oppressively bleak.
That's darker than it would need to be for this movie. I think that would be a risk for movie two.
Yeah. And I think there's a fair amount that can be implied.
I think it's going to be bleak enough seeing Krypton.
Yes. Okay. So this is the other big thing that I wanted to
Yeah.
talk about. And I do view this as a departure because in the comic, there's really just one issue. It's my favorite issue.
Yeah.
When she's riding Super Comet and Comet the Super Horse.
Super Comet.
I like Super Comet to escape the Mordru orb. And as she's fleeing, we have Ruthie recounting the history of Krypton, how it didn't die in a day because the gods aren't that kind. And it's such a pivotal issue. And like we talked about, that wasn't the original issue 6.
No.
Which is wild because it's like, dude, the whole thing, I don't want to say the whole thing falls apart without it, but it is to me the emotional linchpin. It's like, if you're going to, if you're going to hang so much on this higher lesson that Kara is trying to impart, but ultimately kind of come down to this idea that even after all these years, like she can't let Krypton go. She can't necessarily do what she's preaching to Ruthie, or at least it's still a struggle. You need to see and relive what Kara endured as far as the initial destruction of Krypton, the escape via Argo City, the kryptonite poisoning that everyone started to suffer until they put down the lead shielding, and then that meteor shower that destroyed the lead shielding and forced her ultimate departure from Argo City. Like, you need that. And so I'm glad issue 6 exists. But I truly get the sense from what we see in this trailer, as well as from interviews that I've read with the director, I think we're going to be seeing a good bit more of Krypton than we did in the book.
And I hope so. I actually hope so. Because I think if they do it right, Like I want to see the Krypton Argo stuff.
I do too. Like, that's what's so wild. Like, to actually see in Argo City preserved via dome fighting and floating in space. Yeah, like, show me
and
that.
then not. And then like, yeah, why did she get sent? Like, it's just crazy. Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like we talked about, it's Tom King might have gone further in mining the trauma and then the effect that it would have on Kara today.
Yeah.
Yet it's not like he invented a new backstory. And I know because I just went through all those Silver Age stories, and you're going to hear us talk about it. The biggest modern addition to the Kara Zor-El origin story is the notion that she was supposed to arrive and care for a baby Kal-El, but she's knocked off course and she shows up after he's an adult. And it's a tremendously rich addition. I love it. But that's the most significant modern insertion into the story. But the whole idea of Argo surviving under this dome, radiation poisoning, destruction of the poisoning destruction of the shielding courtesy of meteor, like all of that has been intact for decades.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form in the comics. Obviously, other media adaptations a little bit different, but comic book wise, that's been there. So yeah, to see in this trailer, to see that dome starting to form.
And to also come down.
Yeah. I think the first teaser that we saw, I wasn't entirely sure if it was the dome over Argo or if we were going to see it was Brainiac bottling Kandor. I mean, we know Brainiac is coming, but I think it's pretty clear from this. It's the dome over Argo. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also see a funeral procession. Is your interpretation or prediction that it's Allura?
Yeah, I think it's her mom.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in fairness, that's
because Dad is saying goodbye. You see Dad saying goodbye through the window.
Yeah. And that's right out of the Woman of Tomorrow comic of Allura passing first. And even just the shot of Kara's face in the trailer that we see, clearly there's a level of sorrow there that I think would reflect that being her mother. And then, to your point, it's just Zor-El putting her in that rocket. And we see it go through her eyes, which I really like the vantage point of that.
Listen, just a quick sidebar. I mean, I don't know if you've watched any of the Game of Thrones or House
I have
of the
not.
Dragon. So Millie Adcock, she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Like watching her in House of the Dragon, that prequel to all of the crazy that is Game of Thrones. She's incredible. Like we've only really seen a glimpse of what I think we're going to get, because I think the depth of what she's going to give us is going to be pretty awesome. So I hate saying, like, I'm excited to see her sad. No, like it's going to make it all make sense based on what it looks like they're going to show us.
Yeah. There's clearly a toughness and an irreverence, especially when we see her facing off. This is going to end badly for you. Yet you see that pain and that vulnerability, and knowing what we know and what it seems we're going to be shown about what she endured, I feel like it tracks. I mean, I guess I'm going to say this in every episode in the Supergirl event, because it's that important to me that her perspective is different than Clark's for all of these reasons. The time she spent on Krypton and the 3 different ways she lost it. It's a completely different perspective than her cousin has. And so I think you want to see that reflected, and you want to see that inform her behavior differently. She's still heroic, doesn't take away from that. But the fact that, she might be a bit more withdrawn or a bit less likely to, go to Lois and Clark's apartment for dinner, at least at the outset. She has a journey to go on, but at least at the outset, it tracks for me.
I think Supergirl's story is actually much sadder than Clark's, because Clark didn't need to, this is going to sound, he's still an alien, but really Clark, all he knows is humanity. Like she actually experienced loss because she knows what she lost. She saw it go away. And then her role is reversed. She is a lost puppy, literally. Sorry, Crypto. But I think it's a sadder story. So I think we're going to see a really cool story arc. And I hope, I'm thinking we're going to see not just Ruthie, but also Supergirl's redemption arc. And that's going to help, I think, what she becomes possibly for future movies.
Yeah, look, as always, right? Like don't want to tell someone how they should react to a trailer. And if someone has watched this and it's not lining up with their vision of the character, I've been there. I understand.
And if you're listening, and if you haven't read Woman of Tomorrow and you're listening to this, go read it and you'll understand what we're saying more. But we're going to sound kind of crazy based on if you haven't read it and all you know is just the mythos of who Supergirl is. But it is definitely, it adds a lot. And this trailer, it makes me hopeful that they're doing everything we usually hope that the animated universe does. I feel like they might actually do a good job of this.
Yeah. I mean, I do remain cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
On that front. And this is what I was going to say is that if the movie ends with her blowing Clark off again to go party on a red sun planet, then I think we have an issue. But I don't foresee that. Now,
I don't.
Is she going to do a complete 180? I don't know. Maybe not. But it could be something as small as, no, I'm going to go back and grab a drink. Like, Cal, do you want to come with me? It could be. It could some level of reaching out, some level of progression here. I think there are a lot of different ways that you could spin it, but I really just feel like there's potential here that I'm excited about.
Well, and that there's that Easter egg on the newspaper. So, the front headlines of the newspaper that says Superman saves nuclear, explosion. Supergirl saves a cat. Like, I read somewhere where it's like Superman wants to do good. Supergirl needs to. Like those are two very different things. And I wonder if Clark's going to understand Kara more and she's going to maybe understand Clark more.
Yeah. When we talk about the level of trauma in their backstory, right?
Yeah.
It's not a contest. And I think, there's that great moment from Brainiac by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank where she says you're lucky. You don't know anything of Krypton. You didn't grow, and you see the look on his face. And I think he's registering a couple of things there. I think he is recognizing how deep her trauma is. But I think there's also this sense of it's not necessarily the best thing in the world that I never got to truly experience my planet of origin. So different perspectives that they each bring to it, but still heroic. And on that note, that irreverence and a little bit more of an edge that she can bring, it's welcome because, and I don't want to spoil the Silver Age discussion too much, but the characterization in the Silver Age, she was just very sweet and wide-eyed and innocent and heroic and selfless. Credit where credit's due. But it seemed like so much of her value in the eyes of the other characters derived from her beauty and her compliance and her being generally agreeable. And
also,
it's that's
1950s.
Of course. And believe me, I give all the disclaimers in the world in the episode. Right? We recognize the context that they were made. But at the same time, I'm you got to push this forward. You got to do something different. And so I look at this current spin on the character. To me, it's such a welcome shift because it creates that contrast.
You got to also believe if Man of Tomorrow is leaning into Brainiac, the stealer of cities, and there's going to be a connection now that Supergirl's going to be in this movie. And her arc is going to move towards, I will not allow something like this to happen again.
Yes. Oh, here's a way that we actually could get a little point of connection here, because if he's pulling directly from that Brainiac storyline in the comics, the way that Zor-El was able to create that dome was by using repurposed Brainiac tech that was left behind after Brainiac stole Kandor. So we could very well see a Brainiac drone head in Zor-El's laboratory here.
I'm just, again, I'm not, oh gosh, I hate saying that. I'm not putting all my yes, it's going to be awesome, eggs in that basket. But there's clearly thought that's been put into this. So I just want to respect the fact that, thank you for taking a revered, well-written story and putting it into the cinematic universe.
Yeah, I got a couple more questions, and then we have some audience comments, and then we'll wrap it up here. But the director, Craig Gillespie, I know we, myself included, we keep talking, James Gunn. yes, the producer, he set the tone for this world, but he's not the director of this film. Have you seen any of Gillespie's other projects? Like he did the Cruella movie with Emma Stone. He did I, Tonya with Margot Robbie.
I saw Cruella and I liked that. I have not seen I, Tonya.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't say I've seen a ton of his work beyond that, but I definitely, I definitely enjoy those. Oh, here's the other big thing on the Krypton front. Obviously, we talked a lot in the James Gunn movie context about that message from Jor-El and Lara about the role that Kal-El would serve on Earth. I guess, yeah, I'm curious what, if any, additional insight we are going to glean from what we see of Zor-El and Alura on Krypton.
We've talked about this. I'm still not convinced. Like, I still think there's more to that, but
look, where I land on this is my official statement.
Yeah.
If they ever wanted to pivot, of course they could. Brainiac corrupted the message. You have any number of excuses. At this moment, I do genuinely think the intention is that was the message. To be clear, they could always have an out if they want it, and maybe it might change, but I do think that's the intention right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just very curious too. Like, I guess what's going to tell is the depiction of Krypton we see in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, will that follow the almost like John Byrne-esque cold of Krypton?
And we have David Krumholtz as Zor-El, which Zor-El, would I ever do a Zor-El episode? I don't know. I don't know about that, but Zor-El's an interesting character here because you look at something like the Smallville iteration where he was villainous. So there are different ways to spin this character and this brotherly relationship. But I guess we'll get some more than some. We'll get a good sense when we know what Zor-El is telling her as he's putting her in that ship.
Well, and I'm very curious too. Like, I think there's we're going to learn a lot about what Man of Tomorrow might be based on Supergirl.
I did have one more question for you. With what we see of Krypton, how do you think it's going to be structured? Now, obviously, I know it's a little tough because we don't know how much of the runtime is going to be devoted to Krypton, but it seems substantial enough. Like, do you think these are going to be inserted throughout the way, a la Man of Steel or Batman Begins type framework? Or do you think it's like at a certain point, we're going to have just the Krypton portion and spend however long?
I think it'll be, okay. I think it'll be a Krypton portion. I think it'll be part of Act 1. And I also think it's going to be like short glimpse flashbacks through Act 2 and Act 3. Where like she's sleeping and she like sees something in it, like she wakes up. Like it's going to be those kind of glimpses of like a 30-second like trauma that she has to like come back from, Yeah. I'm going to sideline screenplay direct over here.
No, but I think something like that, I think that would work. And I think I would generally like it interspersed throughout. And we kind of have the Arrow style, like, you have these triggers.
Yeah, but and not like almost emotional jump scare moments.
Yeah.
But like, I think we're going to get like a real fat 15-20 at the front.
Yeah. At
least I hope so. I want to see like a good chunk at the beginning.
All right.
We got to know where she's from.
I don't think they're going to do that. I think we're going to plunge right into her partying and then we're going to pull back. But as always, like I always say, I don't know.
I got a McFarlane figure on it.
Wow. We're upping the stakes here. All right. So just in our Facebook group, I was curious what people were saying. So I'll just run through these real quick. So Tom says, looks excellent. I asked DeVoe, are we pleased with the main man? He said, hell yeah, all caps. JJ says, I'm very excited. I can see the inspiration with the book visually. Plus I'm a sucker for a good found family type story. So yeah, I think that pairing of Ruthie and Kara, and as long as they have the hand washing moment in there, that is clutch. That's a deal breaker. You got to have that scene in there. Like that's the emotional crux of the dynamic between the two of them.
Oh, I want to go read that again. Yeah.
Kyle says, all positives from me, mostly. I don't love Krem's look, but I'll live. Moat looks great, and I can't wait to see it. BJ says, afraid my wife won't go with me if for a second she thinks something really bad will happen to the dog. And he continues, Lobo looks good. I think this will deliver. Miha says, awesome stuff. A much better trailer than the first. I mean, I like the first one, but obviously this fleshed things out more.
I think it's an expansion.
Yeah.
I think it's just an expansion of the first.
DC Dave says, all in. Bruce says, very promising. I was never a Lobo fan, but might be for this film.
Yeah.
Our pal Rick says, I'm all in on this. Everyone's really, really, DC Comics is like, this is great. Everybody's all in, honoring the tagline. And then Terrence says, looks good. So, at least not a flood of responses, but of the bunch of people who responded, I mean, generally positive.
Same. Yeah. I mean, if I was like ranking the trailer, I'd give it like a solid 8 out of 10.
Oh, there is one more thing. And my God, how could I not ask you as the musician? So first, did you like the song choice for the full trailer?
Oh, what a great song choice. And that's a classic. Like, I feel like that's a classic James Gunn vibe. Like, I feel like just, he loves his mixtapes through Guardians and like the older music he brings back. Like, what was that? Who was Ruffin? I always forget
Jimmy
the name
Ruffin.
of it. Jimmy Ruffin. Song of the Brokenhearted. Like, what a perfect like lyric to have over this too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of on that note, the film now has gone through multiple composers. So there was the initial composer. I don't have all the names off the top of my head, but there was the initial composer who left, and then Junkie XL, who did the Snyder movies, was on it for a brief period and then left. And now we have a new final composer. So I don't know what was going on there.
I'll have to look it up and see if it's something I recognize. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, like, it was interesting because it's not the original. Like, they've messed with the old, but I also liked how they did that with the Superman theme. I feel like that was classy. Like, it was modern and classic.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm happy to be able to come on here and be like, hey, like, I think this looks good. I'm really looking forward to it.
and that's it too. I was just talking with a buddy at C2E2 about just like, we've got to remember, and many don't. Like, I feel like there was such a dry spell between like 1983 and the early 2000s of just either nothing or terrible things. And the fact that we can just go, oh my God, they're really trying. Like, this is going to be cool. I think we need to be excited about the possibilities and less worried about the criticism.
Yes. The last thing I'll say for my part, because I don't know, I guess this disclaimer is worth sharing. I love Supergirl. I do. And we've had many different spins on her over the years across media. At the same time, and for people who've been listening to the show for any amount of time, I think this is clear. Ultimately, my heart, first and foremost, is with Superman. That's where I care the most. That's where I think I get the most defensive or the most worked up if I feel like something isn't honoring the spirit of the character. I don't feel as ardently about Supergirl. So I do think that makes me more open, and I do recognize that. So for people for whom Supergirl's their number one favorite character, I get why you might be a bit more protective. At the same time, I do love the character, and I've spent a lot of time with the character, and I've continued to educate myself, and I do feel like we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you joining me for this impromptu recording. I want to ask if you have anything going on in your neck of the woods, Aw Yeah wise, but I also do want to take the opportunity to share that my local Aw Yeah Comics in Harrison, New York, is doing a big Superman, Spider-Man signing on Saturday, April 25th from 1 to 3. And they're going to be 5 guests. They are being announced on a rolling basis here. The most recent guest they announced was our pal and podcast guest, Joe Kelly. So if you guys are in the Harrison, New York area, make sure you come by and check it out. It should be a lot of fun. And follow Aw Yeah for more updates as they continue to announce guests. But anything else going on in your corner of the Aw Yeah verse? Well,
and our shop, just like every other shop, I mean, we are just about a month away from the annual Free Comic Book Day. And that is always such a big day at our shop. Like, not just from a sales, but just bringing families and people in. Like, you want to see the community of a comic book shop, like, that is the day. And there's such joy involved. And you and I both know, man, this world needs more joy. So, that's what we look forward to. That's a great day of our year.
A joyful free comic book day. My experience at Alternate Realities was very different. The owner had a very different outlook on it, but
dude, I will tell you, I've worked a cashier for the last like 4 or 5 years at all. Yeah. And that line, it would go for 4 or 5 hours straight, but it is just fun to see kids holding books and it's like smiles and not stress. And we need a lot more of that.
I swear I'm going to let you go, but I would ask you this off mic anyway. So let me just ask you, I'm curious on the shop front, like, what sort of Supergirl display or arrangement or just overall stock do you have at this? So like, have you purposely reordered stuff or designed an area to showcase stuff knowing that the movie is coming?
Not yet. I know that Joe is probably from the Supergirl. What's Supergirl Day? I think there is an actual day, isn't there?
Well, so Superman Day, April 18th, and this year, Supergirl Day.
I'm pretty sure that the shop for most of late, like after Comic Book Day in May into June, is going to be focusing on that quite a bit. I will tell you that Woman of Tomorrow, both the soft cover and the deluxe edition, it's on our shelves and doesn't stay there long, and it's constantly reordered. So, I mean, it's not just a book that's big because of this movie. It's a book that is, I think, becoming like a DC staple. Like it is when you tell somebody, hey, this is just good writing. This is a good story. This is a good character. This is good emotion. Read this. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of value in that. And going back to kind of where I started of like, oh yeah, choosing this as the basis. It's like, story aside, it's like, yeah, clearly this has made an impact. And so I'm glad that they recognize that. And I also hope and expect, as we hopefully get subsequent Supergirl films or at least appearances of Supergirl in these other projects, that more can be mined from other Supergirl stories as well.
I'm curious too about the merch. Like, I'm curious about again, like I joked about the McFarlane, but like, I would love to see a McFarlane figure of this Supergirl.
They're doing pops. I just saw those.
Of course there were.
There's a Supergirl with Crypto. There's a Krem. There's a Lobo. There's a Lobo on his cycle. Yeah.
That's fun. I would probably get a Supergirl with Crypto. I'm selling a lot of my pops, but I'm keeping all the Superman like oriented ones.
I'm definitely going to get Lobo on the cycle because I want to have a Justin DeVoe pop. So that'll take care of that.
Have Justin sign it. That'll make it better.
Yeah,
man.
100%.
Like, I'm excited for the merch. I'm excited. Honestly, like, again, like I think it'd be great for young girls and teen girls to have like a Supergirl shirt. Like that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Popcorn bucket.
Oh,
I'm sure there's got to be something. Yeah, there's got to be something.
Maybe it'll be, what would it be? Would it be like a Crypto head?
I don't know. It should be like a booze bottle or like a bong or something to reflect her party.
Or like it's like Lobo's head and like the mouth is where you put your hand.
Yeah. Go nuts with it. Listen, man, this was a lot of fun. We got an hour out of a 3-minute trailer. I'm not shocked. Yeah, I'm not shocked. This was a lot of fun. I thank you so much. Audience, I appreciate you joining us for another one of these bonus episodes. Like if you're newer to the podcast or you just came back after an absence because you wanted to hear a discussion of the trailer, recent episodes we've covered, like we've been saying, Woman of Tomorrow. We did a bonus episode on the Superman Spider-Man crossover. I just dropped a really interesting interview with Sterling Gates. And then over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be getting into Supergirl in the Silver and Bronze Ages of comics with a lot more to come. So I hope you will join us for that. Until then, as always, it's about what you do. It's about action. Support the show and receive exclusive content by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. Rewards include our DCU spinoff podcast, advanced listens, sponsorship opportunities, and more. My sincere thanks to all patrons. Please rate and review the podcast via your platform of choice, subscribe so that you never miss an episode, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. By popular demand, Digging for Kryptonite merch is available at our TeePublic store. Visit the link in the show notes to get your DFK shirts, hats, mugs, and more. Flat Squirrel Podcast is also home to Lighting the Bat Signal, a Batman fan journey, which applies the signature Digging for Kryptonite approach to the Dark Knight. as well as another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman, now in its final year covering the classic George Reeves series. Subscribe today. Digging for Kryptonite is a Flat Squirrel production. Key art by Isaiah Simmons and theme music by Dan Pritchard.